on this episode of Law Unpacked.
Full disclosure, I've been close myself, so is my brother. Folks that work here filed, everybody understands that, bad things are happening to good people all day long, every day. Many of the biggest companies that are out there would not be in business today if it wasn't for the bankruptcy option to get over hurdles in the past. I really talk to, it's very seldom I talk to anyone that regrets it. Typically the feedback is, man, I wish I would have just done it sooner. And again, I say that fully understanding what a big decision that is.
Welcome back to Law Unpacked. I'm your host, Sean DeVries, and today we have a truly special guest joining us. Someone who is redefining the way people purchase vehicles, especially during challenging financial times. Our guest is Jonas Ash, co-founder of Ash Auto Group, a company that has carved out a unique niche by focusing on clients navigating bankruptcy and financial distress. Now, what makes Ash Auto Group stand out isn't just their commitment to helping clients get back on the road, it's how they do it. Jonas and his brother built a dealership with a vision that prioritizes dignity and respect. Also, personalized service for clients often overlooked by traditional dealerships. Whether it's through innovative financing models, high-quality pre-owned vehicles, or seamless delivery even to customers across the country, Ash Auto Group is known for going above and beyond. Here's something even more remarkable about Jonas. Jonas has created a culture within his company that supports his employees just as much as his customers. He's known for mentoring his staff, investing in their personal and physical growth, and creating a work environment that promotes long-term success. On top of that, Jonas is deeply involved in giving back to the community, with charity work that reflects the same level of care he brings to his business. Jonas, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to dive right in and learn more about Ash Auto Group and your story.
Absolutely. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity.
So tell me, how did you get started in the auto industry?
Well, for someone that owns a dealership, that's a question that we get quite often. And, it's kind of I feel like it's a pretty unique story. My brother and I absolutely have zero experience with dealerships. We never worked at one. We never wanted to work at one. We never thought we'd own one. And, we really did not like what was available to the consumer out there. Pretty much the auto industry, it recently, with remote purchasing and some of the things over the last few years that have developed, it's changed a little bit, but the same traditional tactics are in place, and we didn't like it. When we had to buy cars, we were subject to those same tactics. We'd have to go to a dealership. You're there all day. It's confusing. You're not quite sure if you're going to leave with what you really wanted. And, we thought that we could do it different, that we could do it better, kind of based everything on complete transparency. So, for example, our local clients in Arizona, they can actually purchase a vehicle in about 10 to 15 minutes. Everything will be done in advance. Financing is in place. They show up, sign a little bit of paperwork, and they're out the door, 15 minutes tops. And that's something we really pride ourselves on. I always thought that buying a vehicle should be like buying groceries. This is the product. This is the price. It's a seamless transaction. And, now that have expanded to about 40 different states, selling vehicles to clients across the country that have never purchased a vehicle remotely, the feedback that we get is once they've been through the process, it's actually much easier to buy a vehicle from us than it is from a traditional dealership with that model. So, we just tried to innovate, and the backbone of this business has always been customer service. And the way we treat our staff, some of the things you mentioned are the exact same way we treat our clients, our referral partners. And it's just based on being, a small family-owned business that is growing, but will always be completely based around the customer experience. And we will move mountains for anybody that trusts us with their vehicle needs.
Well, that's great. So let's jump a little bit and talk about what's your primary role and function in the dealership. And then I know you co-own it with your brother. So what's his role? Obviously, I've met you numerous times over the years, but haven't met him.
Yeah. So, Everyone's probably heard about family businesses, and not always the easiest. And we definitely worked out some kinks early on, but it's really nice because my brother has some things that he can do, and then I have my own separate skill set. And it's really it took us a few years to figure it out, but he does all the buying, purchasing of the vehicles. He's probably one of the best car buyers in the country. So he is doing that all day long, every day. We bring all the vehicles in. Most of them are sourced from the Southwest. Out here we don't have any snow, any salt, any of those elements. So very good vehicles. I mean, there's a reason why, like the aircraft graveyards down in Tucson, Arizona, where all the retired military planes, in case they need to pull up for active duty. I mean, the elements here are absolutely perfect. Now the heat is a little bit challenging. That's just part of it. But anyways, he does the purchasing side of the business, and I handle more operations and business development. And then we've got a full finance team, sales team, operations team, which does the reconditioning of the vehicles. And yeah, it really works well. We really appreciate. There's not an easy job in this company. I don't think there's really easy jobs in any companies these days. So there's a lot of respect for all the different players in our organization to work together to present hopefully get the perfect result each time for our clients.
So let's talk about the vehicles. Now, you solely focus on used vehicles. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
And talk to me about how you source those vehicles and what are you particularly look for when you're buying these vehicles to resell.
Sure. So, I'll probably take a step back to kind of before I answer that to kind of explain why the answer is what it is in terms of our inventory and our vehicle purchasing selection. So, my brother and I started this business kind of as a side company, about 13 years ago at this point, which seems crazy. We had two vehicles. I was actually in the software business for a long time. I was an executive at Oracle, big company for many years. My brother had a real estate background. Like I said, we were not car guys. We were not dealership guys. So we kind of started this on the side and very quickly realized that in order to have kind of a side business dealership, you have to have a real dealership. So what that means is there's overhead, no matter how you do it. You have to have a location, you have to have the insurance. There's just all these expenses that go along with it. So very quickly, we had to figure out if we were going to go all in or if we were going to pull back. And we just kept reinvesting and building. But we were struggling to find our niche. It was very challenging. We were competing, we tried some higher end vehicles, middle of the road. And when you see, on TV, on radio, just these huge marketing budgets and consumers getting blasted by these huge franchise dealerships, very, very difficult for an independent to compete. So, like in a lot of businesses, you have to really find your niche, your segment that you can focus on, become an expert on. And I had a personal experience that really kind of changed everything for us. Family friends of mine, their parents filed bankruptcy. And, this was about 7 years ago at this point. And I actually saw them a few days later after they filed, and they showed up. They were so proud. They were in a $40,000 van. And, a couple of questions came to mind instantly. First of all, the first one was like, how can someone that just filed bankruptcy qualify for an expense like this? A new brand new vehicle depreciates 15 to 20% when you drive it off the lot. I mean, we all know these things. And I just couldn't understand that there was a bank that would approve something like this. The other piece is why would someone sell someone that was just coming out of bankruptcy a product like this? Ethic, moral. Is it really going to set them up for success? So, the wheels started spinning. I'm pretty good. I'm going to other companies and other industries. And I always try to find an underserved market. And I found one there for sure. Someone needed to be advocating for these folks that are going through, hopefully the only time in their life where they're getting a full reset on this process financially. And they need someone in the vehicle space to really be looking out for them and advocating for them. So I personally learned everything I could about the bankruptcy process from a consumer standpoint, from the attorney process. I took credit counseling classes. I sat in on bankruptcy proceedings. I learned everything I could about the Chapter 7s, Chapter 13s, what those entailed. So we could really reinvent our entire company and tailor it around the experience that these clients would be going through and help guide them, making sure that we understood what their next step would be, what they could expect, and set expectations. And at the end of the day, the whole purpose of bankruptcy, consumer bankruptcy, is to put people on a better financial path and get them back to stability. And we wanted our business to be a key piece in that equation. So fast forward to, get back to your original question. Our vehicles are all sourced with that in mind specifically. All of our vehicles are typically 3 to 4 years old, around 60,000 mile range, maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more. And we do that because we want that depreciation taken out of these vehicles, because we want people to avoid the whole reason why we switched our business model to service folks in the space to begin with, which is to set them up for success. So we do, very reliable brands. It's a mix. At this point, we've been doing this model for about 7 years. We understand what our consumers want. We also understand what's best for them vehicle wise. And all of our vehicles that we have on our site, which is something that sets us apart from really any dealership in the country, are eligible for our bankruptcy auto financing program. So yeah, we are very intentional with what we buy, and the intention is to set our bankruptcy clients up for financial success any way we can.
Wow, so that's a lot to unpack here. So let's start. The first part of your answer was how you learned everything about bankruptcy. So what did you find most intriguing when you were going through sitting in court hearings and credit counseling and all of that that studying that you did?
Well, so I've always had an interest in the law. I was actually enrolled in law school, Creighton in Omaha, and back chickened out a week before I started. But I've always wanted to learn more in that space, and kind of got that analytical thought process. I've got a master's in finance. I'm always looking at numbers, those type of things. So it was very interesting to me. And what I found is that, specific to the vehicle guidance, that there wasn't a clear path for these clients. It didn't matter if they were filing 7 or 13 or whatnot. There was some guidelines that were set, but really a lot of this relied on the consumer, on the client that was filing bankruptcy, to go out and get their own information. They're getting mailers blasted at them from all sorts of dealerships with just sales tactics saying that you can automatically qualify for these credit lines and these things without even knowing anything about the client. And the more I learned, the more I saw that there was a true void in the space. And where it really hit me was the first time I went to NACBA, National Consumer Bankruptcy Attorney Convention in Tucson. It happened to be in Tucson, Arizona, which is a couple hours from us. And I probably talked to, 40 or 50 different firms down there. And I asked them the same question. I said, how are you advising your clients on their vehicle options as part of the bankruptcy process? And about 90% of them said that they really weren't advising, that was something that they left up to their clients. And my response was, if I was a bankruptcy firm, that's absolutely what I would do, unless I knew that there was someone that was truly specialized in the space, that knew what these clients were going through, that business was entirely tailored around helping these clients, and they weren't just going to get thrown into the traditional auto dealership model. But someone that I could trust, I'd probably be hesitant to, advise folks on what their next step is to get a vehicle, or look at least exploring options, getting a vehicle as part of the bankruptcy process. So that was a real eye opener. I learned a lot about with our Chapter 13 clients. We have a whole department here that just handles our 13s. We've got very specialized in that space. That's a little bit, I found out that, you go state by state, trustee by trustee. There's different rules, different guidelines. We've really had to develop relationships across the country with trustees directly to help facilitate that. Chapter 7s are a little bit more straightforward in terms of getting folks in a better vehicle position as part of their filing process. But again, probably the number one takeaway, the more I learned, one, it was the steps, the credit counseling classes, which I took, even though I wasn't filing. I wanted to learn everything I could so I could understand what was the next step to, for a filing process to get them to discharge. How could we insert what we do in that process, make it as easy as possible, because these folks have enough going on, make it seamless, and really become, a value add service to the firms that were referring to us as well as to the clients themselves.
Well, through your story from your friend's parents that went through bankruptcy and now learning about it yourself, you mentioned that you want to help these individuals. Describe to me how Ash Auto helps our clients that are going through bankruptcy get through that process.
Yeah, and I preach this a few things very important to me, very important to every person that works here. One of them is that about 60, if you come for about 85% of our vehicles are actually sold to clients across the country outside of Arizona. But if you do come to our offices here, you're going to see in our waiting room about 60% of our local clients are single mothers. Those are the folks that typically need the most guidance in this space, and we will do anything possible we can to help. Not just them, all of our clients, but that's where we really know we can make an immediate difference. And even if and if you take a step back, I always say we really don't have salespeople here. We don't. We have consultants. Okay, if we're trying to not be a traditional dealership in every aspect of transparency, customer service, all this, we can't just have traditional salespeople, straight commission based and just trying to cut a deal and keep it moving to the next one as quickly as possible. We'll spend weeks, sometimes months, working with a single client based on where they're at in their process. And we'll be with them every step of the way and try to communicate, keep them updated. We understand a lot of this is based on timing. And it's not a quick sales process. Our typical sales cycle can take 2 to 3 weeks. Sometimes it's a day, but we're prepared for whatever that client is going through, and we tailor the experience around their individual needs. And again, this is something that unless you're truly committed to this space, there's no way a traditional dealership can provide the same type of service that we do, because you really have to be specialized in what we do. So we're there start to finish. We have all these instructional videos we created, a lot of automation, a lot of, this is what your next step is going to be, what you can expect, all the way until the actual title and registration process, where our clients don't even have to go to the local motor vehicle departments. Typically, they send back a little bit of information to us in the mail, and the plates show up in their mail a few weeks later. It's just a seamless process, start to finish. And we developed this, and every day, that's another thing about being a smaller dealership that has full control of process and policy. We don't have to report to a big board or, other franchise ownership or anything like that, is we can implement change very quickly. So every day we have the mindset of our clients are in a very difficult position. What can we do on our end to keep evolving our process to make it easier for them to get from A to Z, knowing that they have so many other distractions going on, and it's an extremely stressful situation. So we are constantly improving, from our logistics department, getting the vehicles out quicker to our clients, the title and registration process, to the qualification process with our banks and the relationships we have there. We try to expedite and just, be there every step of the way and improve every part of our business literally on a daily basis and implement those changes quickly. So it's as seamless and turnkey as possible for these folks. They have enough going on, enough to worry about, enough stress in life. This should be a positive experience and something that's going to give them a boost and put them on a better path.
So let's walk through this sales scenario a little bit, just so we're not confused. Because, at the beginning of the episode, you said it should take about 15 minutes, but just a moment ago, you said the sales cycle takes 2 to 3 weeks. So walk me through, start to finish when they come to Ash Auto Group.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I said the 15 minutes, that's when the deal is done, financing is approved, the vehicle's picked out. Our local clients can literally be here within 15 minutes, be here for 15 minutes in and out. I mean, it's a completely different experience than what typically anyone is used to with buying a vehicle. It's just something we do. Typically, they want the client to show up, not knowing which vehicle they're going to get, right? Then they can guide them towards what they want to sell them, not what the client. And again, I'm not just trying to bash dealerships here. This is just the model that's been developed over so many years. Financing, if you've been there, you're going to talk to one person, then he's going to have to get an approval from a manager, and then they're going to come back and they're going to do this thing called the Foursquare, try to get you confused. And at the end of the day, you're just walking out there, signing whatever and leaving the vehicle. That's the experience that now that we're dealing with thousands of clients a year across the country, that's the experience I had before I had a dealership, and that's the experience of the feedback that we get from all the clients that we sell vehicles to. So everyone comes in expecting that, and our job is to be the opposite of that. So if we take it back to the start, whether you're in Arizona or the 85%, there are about over 40 different states nationwide at this point that we service. It all starts with what we call a consult. Okay. So what we do is, we talk to the clients, we find out what their current situation is. Every situation with these clients, as Sean, is different. And what we want to do is get information. So we're not just sending them down like some standard path. We ask questions about what current vehicle they have. Are they surrendering a vehicle? Are they a 7 or a 13? We provide our informational videos. We get more information. And then what we like to do is try to get a pre-approval. We can never get a full approval until your Chapter 13 is confirmed or your Chapter 7 is filed. But we have enough information to kind of get a high-level pre-approval. Based on that, we can set a budget. Based on that, we can pick a vehicle from our inventory. And we like to get everything set up or as close to in place as possible so that as soon as the Chapter 7 is confirmed or Chapter 13 is confirmed or your Chapter 7 is filed, we're ready to ship that vehicle out. So again, we try to do everything in advance so that once that confirmation on the 13 or the filing on the 7 takes place, there's no more waiting. Our clients, a lot of them, their current vehicles, either they're getting rid of them or the ones that they have are just barely getting by on the road and they need to get a replacement vehicle as quickly as possible. So our job is to try to execute as quickly as possible. Now, I will say this, though. We are very unique. Another way we set ourselves apart from everybody else out there is that we really fight for these clients. Okay. So, a traditional dealerships is a numbers game. They don't have time to wait for confirmation or to check these different boxes. The sales cycle's too long. They don't have the staff to support and really listen to the clients, constant texting, updates, checking Pacer to see where they're at. It's just a totally different model. But so what that leads to is a traditional dealership, you're going to submit an application. And if you get denied or it looks like it's going to be a complex deal, they're going to say, you know what, probably your only option is to buy your pay here. We will fight. We will call in favors. We will spend weeks. Right now, we just hit a 4.9 rating on our reviews of Google. The average used car dealership is 3.2. And the only negative reviews we really have out there's only a couple, but I hope people read those. You'll see that they just wanted a yes or no answer. When really, we talk to these clients, explain like, if we can't get this done because we're so specialized in the space with all of the main lenders in the country that do auto bankruptcy financing, you're probably not going to get approved anywhere else. So we will take the extra time and fight these battles, call in favors, and do everything we can to get our clients approved, because we know if we don't get them approved, they're probably not going to have any options after they go somewhere else, or it's going to be very challenging. So we will put in that extra effort to try to get these because we are set up to do that versus it'd be a lot easier for us just to say, you know what, didn't work out. Looks like it's going to be a challenging deal. You're a 1099 employee, which brings some additional challenges. You got these other things going on. You've got a repossession, maybe a couple repossessions. You probably just need to go to buy here, pay here. I'm going to move on to the next client. We don't do that. We really put the time and try to truly help everyone. And we owe that. We owe that to the folks that are referring to us, that are trusting us to really work as hard as we can for these clients. And we owe it to the clients themselves. So that's, and again, like with our model, we're set up to do that. At other places where it is just how many deals can you get done in a day and how many clients can you process through, it's very challenging. So,
obviously you can't give a car to everybody. That's impractical, but there has to be some minimum guidelines that they have to have. So what are those guidelines for you to go to bat for somebody?
Sure. So, again, and I keep going back to it, but we've really tailor-made this experience to meet the needs any way we can to set folks up for success financially with their vehicle situation. So a big decision, very big decision that my brother and I made once we started selling vehicles outside of Arizona was to include gap and warranty insurance on every vehicle and warranty coverage on every vehicle that we sell. Now, sometimes that actually comes out of the margin that we make on the vehicles. A bankruptcy client that is just going through a 7 or a 13 to purchase a used vehicle, it is heightened to a whole nother level. So the warranties on the vehicles that we sell are full warranties. So in the warranty space, there's a huge variance, right? There's a million different type of warranties out there. It wouldn't do our clients any good if we were just selling some watered down version that, okay, if your engine blows up, then you've got some coverage. We actually had to commit to getting the best warranties on the market. We actually use 2 companies at this point. One's True and one's DLP. They are recognized as 2 of the top comprehensive warranties in the industry. And that means that as long as it's not a maintenance item, which we go through these vehicles before they're sold, just bumper to bumper and brakes, tires, everything that we think might even eventually be a problem, we take care of that before they're sold. So if someone does have an issue with a vehicle after they're purchased from us, 99% of the time it's going to be covered under their warranty that we sell with a vehicle. So yeah, it's bumper to bumper, fully comprehensive, and it really sets the client up for success. And we actually have a department here that if they do have a warranty question, we just don't send them their warranty information and say, go figure it out. We have a department that will actually guide them through that process to make sure that their claim is getting inspected, that it's getting approved, if they need a loaner vehicle, how that's set up, and all those things. So that's just again, a customer service piece. So that is very important, especially if we're selling cars in 40 different states like we are now. On the gap side of that, that's one that
Before we move on to gap, how long is that warranty good for?
Yeah. So our warranties are 3 years, typically 30 to 40,000 miles. Okay.
And
So these are,
so 3 years, 30 to 40,000 miles, bumper to bumper. Is that including common wear items, or you're assuming that those have already been taken care of before that car has left the?
Correct. So they do not incur, standard wear and tear items. They do not cover. But again, it's very seldom that we have someone that reaches out to us saying that they have a claim that's not being covered because it's a wear and tear item. Because we're in all of this is available, these inspection reports at every vehicle we sell. We also not just provide free Carfaxes, we actually have the client sign off on the Carfax that they reviewed it before they purchased the vehicle, full transparency. But yeah, the fact that we put new tires on almost everything we sell, obviously oil changes, all the filters, brakes, anything that we can identify wear and tear wise, we replace that before our vehicles are ever listed for sale. So the warranties, they cover the big components that, that might go out at any point because it's a used vehicle.
And now let's talk about gap insurance, because that's a huge risk if you don't have it and you're financing a vehicle. So talk to us about gap.
Sure. So typically gap is, gap coverage is additional insurance on a vehicle. That means in the unfortunate event, if you do get in an accident or even total your vehicle, it is going to pay you out. So you have the money to purchase a replacement vehicle. I was just running the numbers last year. Out of, all the cars that we sold within the first 3 months, we had an 8% rate of people that unfortunately total those vehicles within the first 3 months, which is, it's just an incredibly high number. I don't know what it is behind that, but it is, I'm just so thankful that every one of those folks that did total that vehicle within the first 3 months had the insurance money to go and purchase a second vehicle. And if they didn't, they would be back to square one right after they file bankruptcy. So gap insurance is typically anywhere from $500 to $800 cash up front, out of pocket at a traditional dealership. Now we know our clients are going to pass on that if we were trying to make, have everyone pay cash for that. So what we try to do is roll that into the financing to give our customers a break. Cash is obviously very tight if you just file bankruptcy. And we will, like I said, we'll cut margin on the warranty. We'll cut margin that we make on gap insurance. We'll do these things to make sure they're included so we can have these folks set up for success. And our gap policies cover up to 150% of the vehicle's value if you do wreck it or it's totaled out or significant damage on it. So it's very important.
So, and just to put that into numbers, let's say the vehicle's been driven and now it's only worth 5,000, but you owe 15,000 on it. That's where Gap would come in to cover that additional 10. So there's no balance after they've totaled that vehicle out.
Correct. And again, this is worst case scenario, but if you're not planning for worst case scenario, you might as well expect it to happen. So, um, we've got very close relationships with our gap insurance companies that we use. So as soon as we get word that this happens, unfortunately, more often than we ever would have expected, but we have a very efficient process where we can actually get the claim filed, get the client reimbursed, and then get them in another vehicle and ship it out very quickly because we already have all the financing in place from the first vehicle. So again, we're just trying to cover every angle to set folks up for success versus potentially putting them back into the situation they were before they went into bankruptcy.
So Jonas, going back real quick, I mentioned what the minimum qualifications were, and we got off on our on talking about the importance of warranties and insurance. What are the minimum qualifications for somebody to come through Ash Auto
Sure.
and get a vehicle through you?
Sure. So I don't want to say we have a kind of a premier offering or product or whatnot, but we do have some basic qualifications for the program, which allows us to do the warranty, the gap insurance, shipping to clients' place of work or home, whatever's more convenient. And right now, those are going to be $3,500 gross monthly income for individual filers and $4,000 gross monthly income for joint filers. That's a lot of it is based on the Federal Reserve interest rates and different things, car pricing and whatnot. We expect those requirements used to actually be a bit lower, and I think they will be at some point. But right now, those are where they're at. We want to make sure that we're setting people up for success. If we're talking to them, that they have a good chance of qualifying with us. There are options. So if you're close to that range, we want to talk to you. It doesn't have to be exact. Sometimes we can get co-signers, we can do different things, get creative with it. But those are kind of the base guidelines to really give us a good shot at help.
Now, looking into the future, I know Ash Auto is really looking to expand, especially into electric and EV vehicles. Have you, where are you seeing those go? And is that going to be an offering to maybe somebody watching this vehicle?
Absolutely. We actually have a whole selection of Tesla Model 3s right now, which are becoming very popular with clients. We've been watching them for quite a while. And if anyone's watching the electric vehicle market, there's been a big price correction over the last year or so. So we know to get our vehicles for our clients to be able to afford them, what price point they need to be at. And once they hit that point, we will always have an electric vehicle option for our clients. Obviously, they're becoming more and more popular, and not paying for gas is a good thing. So, about 90% of our vehicles are traditional combustion gas-powered vehicles, but we will always have an EV offering at this point, and clients really appreciate that.
And in the future, where do you see the bankruptcy market and the vehicle market, kind of two separate markets, but you're working in that niche? Where do you see that going?
Well, obviously we follow the cars, pricing, speculation. Right now, new car prices are pretty high. Interest rates are obviously still high, highest they've been in some time. They just came down, a little bit, but really not enough to make a big impact on, things like home loans or financing for different services and products like vehicles. So we're hoping that continues. I think, everyone's kind of waiting to see what happens with the election. But at some point, we feel like, car pricing, they have been dropping a bit over the last few months. We expect that trend to kind of continue through from now until the end of the year, which is going to be a great thing for our clients. Plus, it makes it easier for us to buy vehicles. So on that side, we're kind of waiting and seeing. But again, like ever since COVID, a lot of the traditional modeling that's done where you kind of expect car prices to be this and these months in tax season, there's a bump and these things happen. It's really kind of been out the window. So I think the markets are still waiting for everything to kind of stabilize. MSRP values on new vehicles are extremely high at this point. We feel like there's going to be more and more rebates and zero down and And anytime you see that stuff, you've got to be very careful, because if they're not making it on the price of the vehicle, they're going to be making it up somewhere. So for anyone that is buying a vehicle, you have to be very careful that you're really looking at the numbers and understand them, or has someone that does. But what's happened is there's been a slowdown in new car purchases. And then when that happens, then they're not trading in vehicles on their new car purchases, which makes the used vehicle market, those car prices are higher because there's less available. So, there's been some challenges, but I think at some point there's going to be a pullback where used car prices or new car prices do come by. That market should fire up more. Hopefully interest rates continue to come down, and it kind of fuels the whole model and trickles down to the used car market, which is obviously where we specialize and we can get better deals for our clients. So, but again, like, we are very specialized in this space. We know what models we like to buy. We know where we like to buy them from. We know what our price targets are. And we've been able to navigate all this regardless of what's going on in the market. So our clients are still really good vehicles at really good prices. And we're one of the few out there that's been able to do that.
Well, Jonas, for somebody that's listening or watching this video that's thinking about filing bankruptcy, what advice would you give them?
If you're thinking about filing bankruptcy, and again, full disclosure, I've been close myself. So is my brother. Folks that work here filed. Like, everybody understands that, bad things are happening to good people all day long, every day. And we've seen an uptick in that, people making a ton of money. And I'm sure you've seen it too, Sean. It's just, it's crazy times right now. And there's a lot of people that are hurting out there. A lot of people that never thought they would ever be in a position bankruptcy would even be an option, and I would say, bankruptcy is there for a purpose. Many of the biggest companies that are out there would not be in business today if it wasn't for the bankruptcy option to get over hurdles in the past. And, there's things have changed. You can absolutely do this with dignity, educate yourself, make sure you find a great firm like yours or others out there that are doing a great job for their clients. Do your research. And if it is the option that makes sense, move forward with it. And if it does make sense, and this is probably, dealing with thousands of clients a year at this point that are making these decisions, if it makes sense, if it does make sense, and it really is the only option, and it's just a matter of time, I would advise them to do it sooner than later, so you can actually stop things, get on a better path. If a vehicle makes sense, that's great. That's going to be one of your biggest ways to rebuild your credit after bankruptcy. The other would be a home loan, but that's not going to happen for a few years. Get your credit, get that debt under control, get on a game plan together, get on a credit rebuilding program like 720 credit. I mean, there's so many great options out there. And if it looks like that is where this is going to end up, my advice is to really evaluate, educate, and if that's where the path leads, go there sooner than later, because you can course correct and really make a difference. And if you talk to clients that have filed bankruptcy, if you know anyone that has, I really talk to, it's very seldom I talk to anyone that regrets it. Typically the feedback is, man, I wish I would have just done it sooner. And again, I say that fully understanding what a big decision that is on so many different levels. But that's just the feedback that I get, and that's the advice that I have.
Well, Jonas, it's been an absolute pleasure hearing your story and learning more about Ash Auto Group's mission. Your commitment to not only providing a seamless auto experience and auto buying experience, especially to those in bankruptcy, is something to be admired. And I know my clients always appreciate working with your group, and we can't highly say good things enough. And we always love getting the pictures of our clients that have just filed in their new vehicle. That's definitely a highlight to our clients' new life and that new beginning, that fresh start that they're looking for. So thank you so much for joining us today. And for all those that have tuned in, give us a like, give us a follow. Let's get some feedback in the comments, and we'll see you next time. I'm Sean DeVries. This is Law Unpacked.